Hello everyone and thank you for joining me. Today I am showing off my first Ranga fountain pen that I have purchased, the Ranga Splendor in Ice Mocha finish. Before going into the fountain pen though, I wanted to let you know that I'm experimenting with a new lens. Hopefully this will improve a few things in my videos. With that aside, going back to the Ranga Splendor fountain pen. The thing that impressed me and surprised me when I first laid my eyes on it, it was the size of it. I did not expect the size that it has, and I remember laughing uncontrollably by myself. It was a complete surprise, a pleasant one though. I thought I might have some issues with it considering the size, but I have to admit, I actually like it. And even the weight, I really like it, and I find it oddly comfortable. This fountain pen was a little bit of a slippery slope into the world of larger fountain pens. Going quickly through the fountain pen, as you can see, the cap, it's fairly straight. It does have a dumb finial, and because of the size that it has, that finial, it's quite rounded. I guess you could say the shape of the pen, it's a sub shape. The clip looks quite funny on the sides. It almost looks like a tie on this pen. The clip on the pen, it's actually very usable. However, because of its size, especially on this pen, it won't really accommodate a lot of pockets. I'm not sure who would want to put this pen in their shirt, but if you do, doing a quick shirt test, the clip seems to work fine, not a problem. This is what you will see out of your pocket, quite interesting. And removing it from the shirt works actually very nice. It's a little bit tight, but works very well, not a problem. The clip is stamped, however everything is smooth, so it seems to be well built. Between the barrel and the cap there is a little bit of step up or step down actually, and then the barrel goes a little bit up from the cap. We have a straight area and then it tapers down to a domed end. Again, there is no actual finial, but it's well machined and well taken care of. I like the smoothness that it has. The cap, it's a twist cap, works very well and it can be removed very quickly. It's done very nicely. However, when you cap it back, I noticed that if you don't keep it in the straight position, you can easily crisscross those threads. So be careful when you cap it, make sure it's straight and just go gently. From the way I was playing with it, it seems that 1 in 2 tries it will tend to crisscross the threads. And because the thread size is not that big, there is a very high chance to easily cross thread these and damage the threads. So that's the only kind of a negative thing that I've noticed on this pen. Pay attention on how you cap it. And then we have a very nice section, very comfortable, I like it. And the way it meets with the barrel, it's very smooth and pretty much continues very nicely into the barrel, almost feels like it's part of it. And then a JoWo number 6 nib, which on this pen looks more like a number 5 nib. You do have the option to buy these pens with a number 8 nib, which I would strongly recommend. It will probably look much more at home than the number 6 nib. Going back to the cap, as you can see from the endoscope video, it's quite a lot of real estate inside the cap, and everything seems to be machined very well. There is a step inside the cap. I don't know if it meets the actual edge of the section. It's hard to see because of the material. However, from my experience, there are no issues with ink drawing out in this pen so far. And as I mentioned, I really like the section that this pen has. It's very smooth, not really slippery. I like how it flares at the end just before the nib, and I really like how the nib, the section and the barrel are pretty much looking like it's one piece. Really well done. I like that part. There is a little bit of an edge in here that seems to be a small error when the pen was turned, but it's very barely observable. Actually, you don't really see it, but you could feel it if you glide your hands on the pen. As a reminder, these pens are pretty much bespoke fountain pens that are hand turned. So you will find small things that are slightly different between them. So just because I have this doesn't mean yours will have it as well. To remove the barrel, you have to twist it quite a couple of times, which in a way is good because this means that you can eyedrop this fountain pen. When I got the fountain pen, the threads on the section, they already had silicone grease on it, which is good. And based on what I see, there is a little bit of space in there. If you want to add a silicone O-ring, you could definitely do so. This will help with keeping the ink trapped inside a barrel if you're planning to eyedrop it. The pen did come with a converter. Seems to be a Schmidt converter, and a very nice converter. No complaints in there. Works very nice and smooth. I just find it extremely funny how this converter, which is a standard size converter, looks so small on this section. And if we look inside the barrel it's machined pretty well inside as well. However, there is one small disappointing thing on this barrel that I noticed, and that they didn't drill out throughout. Towards the end, they stopped somewhere in here. And as such, for those of you that want to use this as an eyedropper, you'll probably feel like you've been robbed a little bit, because if they would have drilled it almost closer to the end, you would have gained quite a larger ink capacity. Now, if you have the tools and if you're willing to do so, you can definitely mount this and drill it more. Just if you adventure into doing that, measure 15 times and drill once, because once you ruin it, then it's pretty much gone, I guess. And to demonstrate that, using this dowel as a measuring unit, this is how much it's missed. In hand, the pen feels very nice. I like its girth. It might not be for everyone. If you don't like a girthier pen, that might not be for you, especially if you have smaller hands. But for me, it's actually perfect, unposted, perfect length as well, and it's just long enough that I wouldn't need to post it. And the balance of the pen is pretty much in the middle. If for whatever reason you think that the pen is too small, you can actually post this pen. At least my copy posts very nice and very securely. And you will have quite a lot more length on the pen. And the balance of the pen will shift a little bit higher, and it will be in the middle. Well, not really in the middle, just above the middle of the length of the pen with the cap on. Posted. And yeah, like I said, it's quite large. For smaller hands, this will definitely be top heavy, especially if you hold it in this position. Here, however, it's not as uncomfortable for me, but you do feel like you're swinging around a pretty large object. So personally, I definitely prefer this unposted. The size is just perfect. And this is the fountain pen pretty much. Not much else to say. The material is nice, and even though it's a larger pen, like I mentioned, I actually surprisingly like it. I never thought I would like pens this large, and I'm happy I purchased it. I guess I'm gonna go into the inking process, which is fairly simple. We'll do a writing sample and then I'll attempt to do a sketch with it. For today, I wanted to go back and use this ink that I purchased from AliExpress some time ago. As usual, cap off, barrel off, piston all the way down. And this bottle will be a little bit harder since I am halfway, ink is halfway. So again, put the section inside the ink, go about halfway up or until you see ink coming inside the converter, go back down, and then go all the way up. This converter gets a pretty good feel, I like it. And the section cleans up very nicely, no drama in there. And doing a quick writing sample, I find it quite funny that because of the size of the pen, but also because of the new lens, thus I cannot fit the pen in the frame. I'm not gonna attempt to use it post-it. So this is Ranga. Splendor, a little bit of a harsh start for whatever reason. Fountain pen. Now I remember this nib does need a little bit of smoothing out. I did use it once before, but I didn't want to do any changes to the nib. I wanted to show it off how it works from the box. This way you get an idea of what's going on. So this nib definitely needs a little bit of flossing and a little bit of smoothing. And the reverse on this specific Kyovo nib doesn't seem to work at all, actually unusable. So as you have seen, there are some skips with this nib. It's not ideal. However, seems to be on the fine size or extra fine. This nib is an extra fine. So before doing the sketch, I will smooth out the nib a little bit and floss it and check its alignment, make sure everything is fine. So I guess the assumption is that these nibs are not actually tested before being sent out, and as such expect that you might have to do some work on the nibs. So let me dive into sketching and I'll let you know what I think of this fountain pen. Today I was again inspired by the super macro pictures that I was looking at a couple of weeks ago. And again, the focus was on some type of mold, cute little things. I tried to do them just as much as I could have from what I remembered. I did almost give up midway in the drawing. There was a little bit of uncertainty as to what direction I was trying to go with the drawing, and I wasn't sure about my lines and the values that I was trying to build, but I decided to keep on pushing, and I think in the end I turned out with an okay result. And the fountain pen worked out just fine in the end after I managed to get the nib working properly. It definitely needed a little bit of attention and smoothing out. Tines were aligned but a little scratchy and a little bit too close together. So what do I like about the Ranga Splendor fountain pen? The odd and obvious thing that I liked the most was the girth and weight of the pen, which I know it won't be on everyone's liking for sure. At the moment of buying this fountain pen, this was my biggest fountain pen yet. I always tended to steer clear a little bit from fountain pens that seem to be too big. So this for me was my first dip into the world of larger fountain pens, and I have to admit that I do not regret it for a bit. I knew I liked heavier pens, but never considered the larger size fountain pens. The Splendor, it's well built and well assembled. Very few negatives to say about it. I do like how the section is almost flushed with the barrel and that the threads on the barrel are not intrusive at all. Converter is included, and if you do not want to use one, you can definitely eyedropper this pen for more ink capacity. Even though that could have been a little bit better, to be honest, taking in consideration the barrel's size. What I don't like about it. As mentioned, there are a few things that I find maybe not ideal on the pen. None of them a deal breaker in my perspective though. However, maybe not ideal for everyone, considering the price you are paying for one. The first thing that comes to mind is the way the barrel was drilled inside. It was not drilled all the way close to the end of it, and as such it feels like a missed opportunity for adding more ink capacity to those who will enjoy eyedropping the pen. Why have such a lengthy barrel if you are not able to take advantage of it? The second thing that I can think of is regarding the threads on the barrel. While the way I understand that the way it was designed is to make a very nice smooth transition from section to barrel and almost like a continuous line, maybe that's why they reduced the threads, but I think that introduced the unwanted thing that you can easily crisscross the threads if you are not lining up the pen with the cap properly. You really have to treat them gently, so I definitely recommend caution with capping the pen. Now, considering that this is a hand-built fountain pen, maybe that issue is only on my pen and on your pen might be better. And lastly, it was the nib. It definitely needed a little bit of attention to get it going properly. Easily fixable, at least for me, but if you're not comfortable with doing the work or having the tools to do it, this could render the entire fountain pen pointless and unusable. In my opinion, I do think that at this price point, a quick test to make sure that the nib you're sending out functions properly could be done. Overall, I definitely like the fountain pen and I am happy I ordered it. It introduced me to a size that I never considered and found it to be, pleasantly comfortable for me. Now I understand that might not be for everyone, so definitely take your preferences in consideration before jumping on ordering this pen. And since it's a fountain pen that is more on the expensive side of things, it's good to think twice before ordering one. And as usual, if you can try it before ordering it, it's probably the best. Speaking of prices though, taking in consideration that these fountain pens are handmade and they are basically bespoke or kitless fountain pens, I do believe that the price it's fair. I know that some might not like that, but once you understand the amount of work that goes into hand building each fountain pen, these prices make sense. For someone to make a living out of building these fountain pens, they need to charge for the work, and I perfectly understand that. And that's about it for today. If you have any other questions, please leave a comment below and I will try and get to it as soon as I can. Thank you for joining me today and I wish you all the best and a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Take care. Bye.